What is going on, guys? Jin here from CZeroMedia. In today's cafe racer build episode, let me just first show you these pretty powder coat pieces that came back from my powder coater. Got the front rim powder coated, and then this is a Cognito Moto's conversion hub, right? You guys all saw that. That's gonna be mounted here with the custom spokes. And then I got here the swing arm, the brake, the rear hub, as well as the rear rim, which looks super wide and aggressive. And I want to show you guys these bits and pieces, velocity stacks. I had powder coated gold for some bling bling, and then instead of just doing the velocity stacks, I decided to powder coat some of the bits and pieces. You know, tried to match the front fork, just ever so slightly. That's good enough for me. I wanted to put some gold accents throughout the bike, so it's just not the velocity stacks sticking out. Because this is so gold, I might want to paint the engine in the future to black, so that the gold kind of sticks out more. But for now, this is the plan. I want to do a huge shout out to Jordan from Warhawk Powder Coating here in Michigan, because he is the powder coater who hooks me up and powder coats all my builds for me. He did the rims on the Avon in the past. He's powder coating my rims on the FTRX7 Enkis I'm going to be putting on the car. And he was also the guy who initially powder coated my motorcycle, the frame, and every black powder coated pieces you have seen in the past on my cafe racer build was done by Jordan at Warhawk Powder Coating. So in today's episode, I don't know how much I can get done, but I'm gonna start out by dropping off these rims off to a motorcycle shop. Initially, I was gonna lace up the limbs myself, which is not that hard of a process, but it is time consuming. And when it comes to easy jobs that's time consuming, I would rather give it to somebody else and pay for it, because time is money, guys. In addition to that issue, I don't even have the stand to spin the rim on and in the gauge, feeder gauge, to see the crookedness of the rim once the spokes are mounted. So for that reason, I just decided to drop it off at a shop. And even if I was to lace up the rims myself, I would still have to take it somewhere to get the tires mounted. So for now, I'm just gonna pick these up, put it in my DD Evo, and drop it off at the shop. And when I come back in my garage, I'm gonna go ahead and start mounting the swing arm back on the bike, as well as a couple bits and pieces here, that I can be as ready as possible to ride the bike once the tires come back. Alright guys, I'm back. I spent about a month away from home in Europe. I was in Portugal, I was in Austria, I was in Germany. Now I'm back home wrenching away. I just picked up the fully assembled front and rear wheel setup. This is the rear here. Everything is put together nicely, and I actually am quite happy with the widths. I went with 140. I saw initially it was going to be a little too wide for my needs, but it's wide definitely compared to stock, but it's not too wide to a point where it's gonna look ridiculous on the bike. I think 140 came out great for the style I'm going for with the bike, but we'll see how that looks after everything's mounted. On the front, I got the 110s, as you already know. Definitely skinny as I expected, but I wanted to keep the front end skinnier, a lot skinnier than the rear, to keep that cafe vintage retro look. And I'm actually quite happy with how everything came out so far. So here is where we are now. We put the swing arm in the back. I modified all the electronics so that it's up to date. I have pretty much finished wiring up, as you might have seen in the time lapse, the front control areas. These velocity stacks were a little too gold for my taste when I got it back from the powder coater. As you can see, it's way shinier than the front forks still. So what I ended up doing was I grabbed a green Scotch Brite and kind of brushed it off to give it more of a brushed finish than the gloss finish that my powder coater was able to achieve. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put the rear wheel back on a motorcycle first, put the front rotor on the front rim, and really just kind of start putting everything back together. Alright guys, let me give you a quick update. The rear end went on without any issues. It looks super good as for now. As I mentioned in the past, you are going to need a sprocket offset kit from Cognito Moto. You want to run a 140 tire like I do here, because as you can see, the chain is getting super close to the edge of the tire here, right? You still have a stock sprocket on the motor side. This chain is just gonna be pushed up towards the inside. Just about where this chain guide is located is where this chain is going to be, which obviously would be a problem with here running wider tires, because I mean, look how small of a clearance there is right now with vibration and everything. You are going to risk hitting the tire with your chain. Because this is a 140 tire and it's not anything too aggressive, I still have plenty of clearance, but here running like 150, 160, you are going to have an issue for sure with stock sprocket setup. Now, rear end is good so far, but this is where I'm running into an issue. Everything was just going too smooth for me, and as expected, there is a couple more work to be done. So here is the issue. First of all, I had to cut up these bolts that's holding the rotor onto the hub, simply because it was too long. So I chopped up every single one of them and re-threaded it to make sure that it was good to go. You can see there on the inside of the brake caliper, it is slightly rubbing on the spokes. If you see here, right, it is slightly rubbing on the edge there. So when I span this tire, see that? It's hitting against the caliper. So what I'm going to do now is take an angle grinder to the brake caliper again to shave off some material from the inside of it and then repaint it and see if that works better for my setup. Alright guys, another day has passed and let me show you what I did here to clear the caliper. All I needed was just additional couple millimeters of, actually no, I already attached it. All I needed was additional couple millimeters of shavage to clear the spokes. As you can see there, that's the area I grind it down with my angle grinder, both on the left and right side, and now wheel spins freely without interfering. So that's that. Let me just say though that it is kind of scary shaving off your brake caliper when your motorcycle especially only has brakes up front, because these are the only brakes I'll be relying on this bike. So now that the front brake situation is figured out, I'm gonna remove the calipers again, just paint up the inside real quick so it's not just exposed metal like that. And after that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and put some fluid in the motorcycle, bleed the brakes, and just kind of finish everything up. Hopefully today I can put the gas tank on, the seat back on. I need to sit on the bike and adjust the new brake lever setup, right? You can go in and out the clip-ons. Obviously higher, lower, all of that can be adjusted as needed. As for the suspension height with the Gixxer front end, you know, I can adjust the height of the bike. I like everything to be on the low side because I think it looks better, but I don't want to make the forks sit too low to a point where it's not really sitting even with the rear end. I don't want to modernize the bike too much. I don't want to stance it out too much. I want it to look good. So once I can put the bike back on the ground, I will kind of inspect the bike, look at it from far away, and see how I like the way it's sitting.